morning, students. Today we are going to talk about education. Sambar Shiksha. So now we will learn about reproductive system. This is the male reproductive system. This is
Well, that was the education I got in my high school when I was 17. But do you guys remember what your sex ed was like? Oh, and do you remember all those late-night, heartfelt conversations that you had with your parents about what they wanted your relationships and sexual experiences to be like? Yeah, none of those conversations happened. According to a New York Times article published by David Hall in 2015, the very unfortunate reality is that only 22 out of the 50 states in US require that sex education should be taught at all. And out of those, only 13 states require that it should be medically, technically, and factually accurate. 19 states in US only focus on the importance of abstinence until marriage. That's a little scary, right? For kids to make informed, responsible choices about their relationships and their sexual health, healthy sexual development needs to be addressed both at home and in the classroom. And currently, neither are happening. In an interview with Pittsburgh Gazette, Samantha Bushman, the CEO and founder of The Talk, the new sex ed, in 2015, identified a couple of myths that are usually associated with sex education. Today, I'm going to talk to you all about 3 of those myths, followed by a proposed policy to combat this social issue. Myth number 1, some other kid is the problem. Whenever we talk about an issue, everyone says, it's those kids over there. Most parents have a very generic response. My daughter would never get pregnant. My son would never have sex without a condom. My child would never be sexually aggressive in a relationship. When it's someone else's problem, it's easy not to talk about it. It's those kids over there. But in reality, most kids are at risk for making poor choices about their relationships and their sexual health. Now, moving forward, I'm going to talk about the second myth. By talking, you will put the idea in their head. Remember your 16-year-old self? No one had to put the idea in your head. It's already there. There's something called as normative sexual development. Sometime in adolescence, it's going to strike all of us, and it's going to be front and center. And no one has to put the idea there. Myth number 3, it's either abstinence only or comprehensive sex ed. We have conservatives who claim that the alarming statistics illustrate why abstinence should be the single mantra when it comes to sex ed. On the other hand, we have liberals who counter that the increase in disease is the strongest case for more information. Now, moving forward, in an NBC News article published by Molly Musland in 2015, Tamara Kreinine, the president of Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States, says, and I quote, "Young people are going to learn about sex. Our question is, where do we want them to learn from? From the media? From their friends? Or from an educated, responsible adult?" In this era of easy access internet porn, the message that a lot of kids get is that sex is about mechanics. Now, thinking that you can learn about sex from porn is like thinking you can learn driving from the Fast and the Furious. According to the CDC website, last reviewed in February 2016, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, 66% of American high school students have had sex by their senior year. And 41% of those admit that they did not use a condom the last time they had sex. The UN Millennium Development Goals as of 2014 might just help explain why US has the highest teen pregnancy rate in the developed world, and why America's adolescents account for nearly half of the 19 million new cases of STIs every year. What young people really need is a very comprehensive form of sex education that approaches sexuality as a positive part of life. I would like to propose a policy that illustrates that teaching teenagers about sex, sex education, unwanted pregnancies, and HIVs go a lot beyond just threatening them with information. Now, moving forward, I'm going to talk about incorporating comprehensive sex education in all of the 50 states in US and illustrate its 3 branches. First, the Department of Education should collaborate with the federal government to start a comprehensive sex education program right from elementary school up till high school. Now, one such country that has this model is Netherlands. In 2015, Saskia Melker published an article in the PBS NewsHour, which states that in Netherlands, comprehensive sex education starts as early as age 4. Now, what that means is at elementary level, students are encouraged to have open and healthy conversations about love and relationships. A Rutgers WPF study done by the International Planned Parenthood Foundation in 2014 states that as a result of this curriculum, 9 out of 10 Dutch adolescents used contraceptives the first time they had sex. The World Health Organization data as of 2014 show that Dutch teens are among the top users of birth control pills. According to World Bank, as of 2015, Netherlands has the lowest teen pregnancy rate in the world. Second, a new literature curriculum for high school students enforced by the US Department of Education. Now, this would allow the students to discuss handling sexual situations even before they're actually faced with them. Narratives from literature classes would allow students to hypothetically negotiate sexuality and give a roadmap for their own lives. Now, of course, with such a curriculum, parents should sign release forms in the beginning of the year. Third, the parent program. The state legislatures should provide additional funding to the schools to incorporate a parent program whose primary objectives would be to create confidence in the parents about talking with their children about sexuality, empowering them to act, and then paving the way for healthy communication between the parents and their child. Now, I'm sure after listening to my proposal, all of you are wondering where the funding would come from. To illustrate the financial feasibility of my policy, I would like to talk about 2 reforms which have already been enacted by the US government. The first, according to the Government Printing Office in 1996, former President Clinton issued the Welfare Reform Act, in which he allocated a total of $500 million for abstinence-only programs. Second, in a recent article published in the New York Times by Doug Kirby in 2016, the February of 2016 actually, President Obama cut down all funding for abstinence-only programs. Now that is actually $10 million, which was allocated to the development of health and human services. Now my appeal to the government is simple. The millions of dollars which have been distributed or cut down from abstinence-only programs should be reallocated to create a joint council that manages the 3 branches of my proposed policy. In conclusion, our sexuality is a fundamental facet of who we are as people, and we have a responsibility to use it to create a world that is more connected, more just, more fair. We have to make a world where what's between our legs and the way we use it is not used to create hierarchies of power and control, but is used to create connection and fellowship. I hope that's an inciting vision for you, and I hope you'll join me on the journey to make it happen. Thank you.